The following story has been brought to you by StoriesToInspire.org.
A number of years ago, a woman in Israel named Esther, a mother of 3 children, was widowed in her 40s when her husband passed away of a sudden heart attack. Even when her husband Meir was alive, the family barely scraped through each month. And now it was 10 months after his passing, Esther was burdened with supporting the family, with caring for the children, tending to the house. She was completely overwhelmed. To top it all off, one fine day, the home's Dud Shemesh, the solar water boiler, suddenly burst, and water started flooding all throughout the house. The woman was beside herself, no idea what to do, how to shut the water, how to stop the flood. She looked at her youngest son, Levi, who at the age of 9 had to grow up very quickly since his father's death. With the 2 older brothers away at yeshiva, Levi had become her right-hand man. And she realized that she had leaned on him perhaps more than she should have, but try as she might, at times it was hard for her to keep her emotions in check. And that day, as she watched the water gushing out of the boiler, just looking at her life and what became of her life, she couldn't hold it back anymore, and she just collapsed crying. Enough! Little Levi was watching his mother fall to pieces, watching the water flooding the house. Ima, maybe we should call a plumber. Without waiting for his mother to respond, he picked up the phone, went through the kitchen drawer, found the number of Uri the handyman. Uri, he remembers, could fix anything. So Levi dialed the number and told Uri that we got a problem in the house. We got this broken boiler. The house is flooding. Uri said, I'll be right over. Shortly thereafter, Uri was there with his tool belt hugging his waist. He walks into the apartment. He sees the stream of water coming down the hallway from the broken boiler. He immediately figures out how to get the water, the main, to shut off. He shuts down the water. Levi is watching everything he's doing. Uri asks Levi, could you get some towels? Let's start cleaning up. In the meantime, Esther had finally gathered herself together. And though her eyes were still red, she tried putting on a brave face. And when Uri finished the cleanup work, she nonchalantly asked him for an estimate of the cost to replace the boiler. Looking at her, Uri didn't miss the redness in her eyes. He could tell she'd been crying. He then looked at Levi's serious, anxious face. His heart broke for the sad plight of this family. And then turning to both of them, Uri said, you will be so pleased to know that the Iriyah, the municipality, has recently sent out thousands of vouchers to be used for replacing outdated boilers. Today is your lucky day because this boiler is on the list. And you'll get a voucher for a free boiler. It won't cost you a penny. It includes the installation, it includes the labor, it includes the cleanup costs, all included, paid for by the municipality. Little Levi is jumping for joy. He knew how much relief this would bring to his mother, and sure enough, a couple of hours later, Uri and a team of his helpers came in with a new boiler. They replaced it. Everything was great. Life moved on. Fast forward, 25 years later. Uri is now in his 70s. It wasn't easy for him to get around. He suffered from asthma. His knees gave him trouble. He wasn't able to walk without a great deal of pain. It was difficult for him to breathe in the air in his stifling apartment. His doctor said, Uri, you have to get an air conditioner. And Uri said, I can't afford one. Months passed. His breathing became more labored. The doctor said, Uri, you must get an air conditioner. So he orders an air conditioner unit, the cheapest one that they possibly have. 2 days later, the air conditioner arrived. However, it wasn't the cheap model that he ordered. In fact, it was the most expensive one on the market. So he asks the installer, he said, hey, this is not what I ordered. Uri began to get upset. He says, your store is taking advantage of me. I didn't order this one. They're going to send me a whopping bill. And the installer says, I don't know. This is what I was told to bring. He picks up his cell phone. He calls the office to explain the situation. This guy won't let me install it. He says it's not what he ordered. The voice on the other end says to Uri, this is what you're getting. And by the way, it's been paid for. Paid for? What are you talking about? You guys are up to some scam. You're up to something. He says, no, I'll be over soon to explain. 10 minutes later, there was a knock at Uri's door. It was the owner of the company. And Uri says, what do you mean it was paid for? Who paid for it? And with a smile, the man said, the area paid for it. The municipality paid for it. Ori looked at the man with a puzzled expression. He says, I don't know what you're talking about. He said, my name is Levi. 25 years ago, you did some work in our apartment. Our lives were in shambles. The boiler was broken. My mother couldn't handle it, couldn't take any more frustration in life. And you saw that. I saw it in your eyes. And you replaced that broken boiler, and you told her that the area had paid for it. And you should know that was the turning point in our lives. Your kindness restored our hope. It lifted our spirits. I've always wanted to repay you somehow, but never knew where you lived. And when this order came in yesterday and I saw your name, I was elated. I recognized your name. And would you believe it? Just that day, the area arranged that all citizens with asthma were to be given the top of the line air conditioning units for free. We spoke about Kohelet. King Solomon writes in Kohelet, cast your bread upon the waters, for after many days you will find it. Goodness does not occur in a vacuum. Every act of kindness has a way of coming back to you. At one time or another, in one form or another. That's just the way it works. On the words of Ralph Emerson, it is one of the beautiful compensations in life that we could never help another without helping ourselves. Little do we know which crossing of paths can be a close encounter of the holy kind, one that will impact and affect our fellow's life and perhaps our own life for years, if not generations to come.
Enjoyed this story? Come again. Bring a friend. StoriesToInspire.org